I'm Craig Leonard, I'm Investment Director at MaRS Investment Accelerator Fund. So IAF is MaRS Investment Accelerator Fund. We're a small venture capital firm within MaRS, all early stage seed investments. We've got 160 companies in our portfolio. We tend to be the first institutional money in across sectors, mostly ICT, some health tech, some clean tech, a little bit of manufacturing. My role is investment director, so I'm a guy who goes and finds great companies and rallies them through our process to get them funded, and then contribute as much as I can afterwards to getting them more successful. At our firm, we look at 4 buckets of criteria in evaluating a company in general. Team, technology, timing, and traction. Those can look very different per industry. So, for instance, a marketplace that has very low technology and it's a pure sales execution play, the validation and the valuation on that would be dependent on really the execution of the sales. Conversely, a clean tech company that has deep technology, isn't even in market yet, has no sales, could be worth more. Yes, but I would actually flip that around in that investing is all about risk mitigation, and valuation is one factor toward mitigating that risk. One is early rounds can be too rich, leaving entrepreneurs in a corner going for the next round. You raise at a big valuation on future and you don't get there and you run out of money. Now it has to be a down round. No one likes that. You're in a bit of a scramble. Another common mistake is basing valuation on loose comparables. So different industries, different strategies to owning a category perhaps, certainly different geographical areas. Another common mistake that I see is being too value sensitive as an entrepreneur. If you're a founder that's bickering over just a couple percentage points, which we do see, do you really believe that it's going to be a large enough company that won't matter? I also see entrepreneurs, founders who are basing their valuation too much on their raise amount. They think about what they want for dilution or what they'll take, how much they need, and that's their valuation. That's a little bit inside out. It's not what a market will bear, it's what they want for themselves. And that may or may not be feasible. I also see a lot of chicken and egg situations. For instance, with this money, with your $1 million, we'll be at $5 million in revenue. And we're going to price it as if it is $5 million in revenue now, though we need your money now to do it. The greatest valuations that I see within startups currently is probably AI. Just before that, it was fintech. It's really hype cycles. In my opinion, those are no times to get into businesses. I think there's 2 ways to invest. There's fundamental business, just business fundamentals, and then there's riding hype cycles. I don't think that there's many folks here in Canada, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but that are creating those hype cycles. Some of the big firms in Silicon Valley, by the time it is a hype cycle, they're already out. The factors that go into valuation from an entrepreneur's perspective and from an investor perspective really depend on the type of business that it is. So for an example, there could be some founders that have a business that they can get to healthy revenue, cash flow positive. It never has a chance of building large enterprise value, but they can bootstrap there and they can make some money from it. And our grandfathers, that's what a business was. Those aren't necessarily investable. Those aren't valuation dependent. And I encourage entrepreneurs to look at those businesses differently and understand it's okay to have a cash flow business that is good for your lifestyle. Not every business needs to put a stake in the ground with a high valuation and raise and get on this cadence of raising. But if you do, then those are very much dependent on all of the things that I talked about earlier in terms of market dynamics, supply and demand. Is it one of just a very few that are going to take a category. Can it have line of sight toward $100 million in revenue? Is it a management team to do so? All those four criteria that I laid out before. The more that you can validate what's most important to your business, that the technology is sound, that the product market fit is there, that you've got a sales process, if it's pure execution kind of play, that's just heads and shoulders above somebody else. If you can show those things, then you're going to have the investor perceive it as less risky for their money and thus bump up the valuation. But consider hard of when you need to raise, if you need to raise, if it's that kind of business, and when you do, don't necessarily be greedy. Understand that it's a partnership going in. It's not like buying a car where you don't care if you piss off the salesperson and he doesn't care if he pisses you off necessarily. You're in a partnership with this. So it's about getting a valuation and a deal that keeps everybody aligned and with great incentive to achieve the big goals you have.